This channel is made possible by viewers like you. My viewers, subscribers, and patrons greatly help to keep this channel going. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for all of you. Please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any uploads. And if you'd like to go the extra mile, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you'll get access to what I'm working on, previews of upcoming content, and even early videos, along with other tier options for those that are interested. Thank you, and now on to the video. I enjoy shooters that involve taking on various bugs. EDF and Helldivers are two that come to mind that I enjoy, but there's always room for some more. I had my eye on the Starship Troopers game that's been on Steam for a while, and now it's coming to console soon. I got the opportunity to try it out, and it feels like a title that is both fun and janky at the same time. Things that jump out to me from the get-go I liked, with this really cool building mechanic incorporated into the shooting action. The swarm effect of having many bugs rushing at you honestly never gets old, and depending on the situation, the game can lean a bit more into being a horror title. I just started playing it, I like it, and I do think that it does need more patches to really iron it out a bit more too. Big bugs, big guns, and even big buildings. How does that not sound like a fun game? And as a result, with this game, all of those things equal a pretty good time. Starship Troopers Extermination is a new co-op focused first-person shooter that manages to capture the magic from the action from the film. The game has you selecting from different classes, and each ones have their own specializations. For example, if you want to be more support focused, then you can play as someone like the medic. There's plenty of unlocks for each of the classes, and I would highly encourage you to experiment until you find one or a few that you really like playing as. While in a match, you are part of a squad, and then there's several squads fighting toward the same goal. Like, think something like Battlefield, but the entire thing is a big co-op match. So you'll want to have a squad that's a nice mixture of classes to sort of be well-rounded, or maybe you go for being more specific if you're more experienced. The shooting is solid and has decent sound effects, with some really nice squishy ones for the bugs, and I love the reload sounds. They sound really weighty. Bugs blow up and leave bits everywhere. It makes the explosive stuff very fun. Plus, some of the dead bodies remain, and you'll need to jump or even climb over them too. Building is another important aspect to the gameplay loop, as you'll need to do it depending on the location. This is where it feels like you're being right in the middle of the movie, where you're holding your own against a swarm of bugs. Matches are a nice mixture of completing objectives, and then a sort of tower defense thing. I like it, and there's a lot of freedom in what you build. This is a co-op title, you cannot go it alone. If you do, you're not gonna last long. Some other touches I really liked was how there's some nice horror elements thrown in there here and there. Like whenever you're in the dark caves, the tension is very high. Same when you get spooked by a swarm of bugs. So overall, there's this nice mixture of elements, shooting and building, with a large amount of foes that you need to contend with. A game that pushes you towards working together as a squad and as a team as a whole. While a co-op title, the game still manages to put the player in the film, without doing it through the cutscenes, but rather with the gameplay loop. It's a game that feels like it was made by the fans for the fans. It does have a lower budget feel to some of its presentation and even stability, but this is then boosted up by the fun gameplay.
So let's keep going.
I like how the game does a good job of keeping you engaged with the shooting, building, objectives, and defending. Fighting the bugs is just simply fun. I even found myself just taking in the scale of it sometimes with all the players and the bugs attacking your location. It's stuff like this where the multiplayer match has this cinematic quality to it. Like, this is not a single player game with that scale, but rather multiplayer does a good job of putting the player into the movie, with how it is constructed and then delivered. That all being said, I do have some issues with it that I ran into while playing. The big one being is that there is a roughness to the entire thing. The fun does outweigh any of this, but seeing enemies sort of dance around your allies or even standing back still can look a bit silly, and it can take some of the tension out of a situation. Again, stuff like this isn't really too bad, in the case that it can just have this charming sense of jank to it. But one thing that I found really odd was during the tutorial mission. I died and was revived, and then I could not progress with the mission at all. I wasn't too far into the mission, which was fine, so I didn't lose much progress, and and man did this hurt the momentum with me just continuing on at the very start of the game, because I had to wipe the mission. I think most people will probably play the tutorial to get their feet wet. It does need to be a bit smoother with stuff like this not happening, and maybe I was just unlucky with it happening to me. Stuff like this can be annoying, but I still really enjoyed shooting all of the bugs. Starship Troopers Extermination is in many ways a game that I really didn't know that I needed, but it's one that very much respects the IP. Bringing back old IPs is nothing new nowadays. Doing it right though is where it's going to be a hard thing. Many times we have devs coming in and get a hold of a legacy property, and they just use it as a way to be able to shove their own bad ideas through that probably would have failed on their own if they created something brand new. But when you sort of infiltrate a fan base and then make something that seems to be what fans want, but then end up failing to deliver, you better get ready for some angry gamers, because they're gonna come knocking, and rightfully so. While playing Starship Troopers, even with the jankiness, and even some of the roughness to the presentation at times, I saw that this was an example of honestly how to do it right. It's one that feels like it needs some more time in the oven, to better the presentation of the game and stability side of things at the same time. But this is something that I always come back to, is the game fun? And in this case, it is very fun. Fun to the point that you can look past some of the shortcomings. Many of us are big fans of older legacy IPs, and I have seen this done well with the likes of Terminator and RoboCop, with Teon being the developer in that case. And while I'm not the biggest Starship Troopers fan, I like it, but I'm not going to pretend to be a bigger fan than I am for the sake of this video. But what I can see is that it appears that these developers are doing it right, with this game having a lot of heart, almost like the heart of an underdog kind of game. Even with my short time with the game, you can feel the passion and love that these developers have for the source material. You can see that they captured a lot of the magic and still have more to go. But even with all that being said, this would be a title that I would recommend in its current state. I still would, because it's very fun. The one soldier being part of something bigger is felt throughout the entire game. The scale and scope is all there. It's a co-op title where you really need to work with your squad, along with the entire team at play to be able to complete that mission. I know that some are going to want that extensive single player campaign. Know that you'll have a lot of fun even by yourself in this co-op focused title. The game pushes the players into helping each other out, so you're not going to really go it alone. So for both first-person shooter fans and fans of the film, I do recommend this game. Have you played Starship Troopers Extermination? If so, what are your thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.